Hello everyone, and welcome to some MiSTer FPGA news. This week, we will be talking about early work for Konami's Parodius DA, an extension that allows you to control your MiSTer over a web browser, FPGA core work starting soon for the Nintendo 64 core, and more. So let's get to it. Artemio uploaded a video on YouTube where he speaks with core developer Wickerwaka about the M92 hardware. They go over Wickerwaka's core development journey, the chips in the hardware, and much more. It's a good video that you will learn a lot from. Pixel Cherry Ninja, another YouTube channel with MiSTer content, has an interview with core developer Pramod, who's working on the core for the Williams Y and Z unit arcade hardware. Games that run on those boards include Mortal Kombat, Narc, Smash TV, and more. In the interview, they go over how Pramod got into core development, some of the core development process, the challenges in core development, and more. A nice tidbit for Analog Pocket owners is that Pramod mentioned if his core works on MiSTer, then it should also work on the Analog Pocket. The FPGA core for the Nintendo 64 is soon going to start development. The current work that was done was on the software emulator that would help Robert, the developer, create the FPGA core. Robert posted on Twitter some final games running on the software emulator before the FPGA development starts. Those games include Ocarina of Time. I got it right this time. Last week I mistakenly called Majora's Mask Ocarina of Time. Mario Party, Diddy Kong Racing, Kirby 64, Quest 64, and either Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie. So it looks like pretty soon we will find out what's feasible on the MiSTer with the N64. The MiSTex project might also get the Nintendo 64 core. If you do not know what MiSTex is, it's a fork of MiSTer with the goal of being able to use whatever FPGA chip you want. So imagine playing the MiSTer cores on FPGA boards other than the DE10 Nano. Hans, who is developing the MiSTex project, recently replied to Robert Pipe's latest post about the Nintendo 64 core. Hans says, "Hi, I'm working on a MiSTer port to other, possibly many FPGAs using the LiteX framework. As soon as I get DDR3 working, then I will probably try a port of your DS core." I'm assuming the DS part was a typo because Robert had already mentioned there are some bandwidth limitations preventing a Nintendo DS core for MiSTer. Robert replies to Hans with, "It doesn't really need DDR3. SDR RAM would be fine for holding the main RAM and game ROM. I just use a DDR3 because it was the only memory on the board. The main issue is the FPGA size, especially memory size. You need more than 1.5 megabytes of block RAM." Hans replies back mentioning that since other cores on MiSTer need SD RAM, he will get the port working with it anyway. Let's keep our expectations in check. The MiSTex project is in very early development, and so is the Nintendo 64 core. We still need to find out exactly what is possible. Now let me do some speculation. I currently know that Hans already has two MiSTer cores running on an RTX 100T FPGA, BombJack and Qbert. This chip has about 100,000 logic cells. The DE10 Nano has about 110,000 logic elements. I'm not an FPGA developer, so I'm not sure if logic elements and logic cells are the same thing. I looked up this info from the FPGA board's manufacturer specs. But assuming they are roughly the same thing, there is an RTX FPGA board, the 200T, with over 200,000 logic cells. So if MiSTex ever uses that board, and if developing for that board is similar to the 100T, we might be able to get more powerful systems like the N64 running better. That 200T board also costs over $500, and the one I saw didn't even have any video output. It needed a separate bridge connector for HDMI out. The DE10 Nano is so attractive because for its price, it's very powerful and offers a lot of useful options that made the MiSTer project possible. It wasn't just chosen for the hell of it. The amount of FPGA options out there is insane, and capabilities vary for each one. It's not going to be easy finding an FPGA board that offers similar price, performance, and features to the DE10 Nano. But hopefully the MiSTex project offers a way for us to customize our own setups. Mr. Retro Wolf released episode 2 of his MiSTer series that helps you understand the hardware and core for the game Dotori-kun. Episode 2 covers the function of the board, schematics breakdown, you go over a test program, Z80 info and resources, the Z80 pinout, game memory map, and ROM file creation. If you have any interest in core development or are just curious about it, I recommend subscribing to Mr. Retro Wolf's channel. Hotego posted an update regarding the Neo Geo Pocket core. In one tweet, Hotego mentioned finally getting to the point of executing the Neo Geo Pocket firmware in the core logic, and most parts of the system are now in place. However, there are some small details still missing before a release can be made. That release is going to be soon, because earlier in the month, Hotego mentioned releasing a beta core for the Neo Geo Pocket in June. Track 17 announced on Twitter that another game for the Jaleco Mega System 1 core is now publicly available. The game is Soldam, and it's an arcade puzzle game featuring the characters from Rodland. You can either manually install the core from GitHub, or you can enable the CoinOp collection database in the Update All script to have it automatically downloaded for you. Anton Gale's next step for the Taito System SJ core is to implement hit detection. Sprites are still glitching, but Anton feels that he knows what's causing those issues. Anton is also going to test if other games that use the hardware work on the core. I personally am looking forward to see if Jungle Hunt runs. Hotego's team is working on the schematics for the arcade game Parodius Da. This board shares the tile map chips with Aliens and Super Contra, but the sprite chips are different. The schematics will be available to the community once completed. Last week, I spoke about some third-party extensions for MiSTer that add new features like favorites, background music, and more. The creator Wizzo now released a new extension that allows you to control your MiSTer over a web browser. It's called Remote, and it allows you to do things like provide a remote control widget to let you send button presses similar to the functionality of a controller in the menu, an interface to index search games for all your systems and launch them, a basic list of all cores on your system and the ability to launch them, a screenshot manager to browse, view, delete, and take new screenshots, an interface for controlling music playing in BGM, including while a core is running, a wallpaper manager to browse your collection and set the current wallpaper. Those are the features that Wizzo currently mentioned. There might be more, but I'm not too sure. I will be testing out this extension soon, so I'll let you know my experience. You can also support Wizzo's work on Ko-fi. Check out the GitHub page to download this and other extensions. You can also check out Wizzo's YouTube page to see the remote extension in action. So that's it for this episode. I provided links to all my sources in the description. Make sure you also check out retrorgb.com to see my MiSTer news videos in blog form and to get more retro related content. And if possible, support them on Patreon too. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and its bell icon so you can get notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.